Similar to other openings we've seen in the RWBY series so far, if we take a look at the Volume 7 opening, it can tell us a little bit about what we might be able to expect in the coming volume. Now I will say spoiler warning for those who haven't seen Volume 7, Episode 1 of RWBY just yet, as this analysis will spoil a few of the things that happen in that episode. I'll leave a link down in the description below so you guys can go there to Rooster Teeth's website, watch the episode unspoiled, and support the series that we all love. Now, the opening starts off showing us pastel image outlines of the two teams that this series has been following since the very beginning. Team RWBY and Team Juniper. And yes, I say Team Juniper because it seems like Oscar is taking the place of Pyrrha in that team. And it'll still be named Team Juniper. We know already that the naming schemes will use the last name of a person within that team to fit the name. And we saw that with, Lai Ren. The R is used from Ren's name, and in this case, Oscar Pine. The P will be used from Oscar's last name, so Juniper will remain Juniper. Next, we see our heroines, Team RWBY, and they look pretty serious, and we see that they're staring down Atlas, meaning that, of course, all of this arc is going to take place in Atlas. We then see scenes with each of the characters as they kind of go through a small little action sequence where they shift from their Volume 6 clothes into their Volume 7 clothes, which is honestly kind of interesting to see. And with Blake's image, we see a reforged Gamble shroud. Now, one thing that looks interesting about this, it looks like they literally just got the two ends and stuck them together and then welded it with some yellow metal. I'm no blacksmith or anything, but I figure just welding two pieces together like that, that's going to be used as a weapon where force may be put on the tip of the object again, would make it very weak at the joint. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I hope that they used some very strong metal or some good reforging method to make it strong enough to the same degree that it won't snap on contact. I don't know. That's just my thinking. Next, we see Ironwood staring at a hologram of Atlas with the constellations projected around Atlas. Now, they've outlined all of the constellations. I hope that that is significant. I hope that, well, in the universe of Remnant so far, we have not dealt with any of the celestial bodies other than the moon. And the moon is only, the only reason we've dealt with it is because everyone in the RWBY series has wondered why the heck is it destroyed or half broken apart ever since Volume 1. And we finally found out in Volume 6. So if they introduce the constellations in some way, I would be very happy to see that, even if just some characters are introduced that have a naming scheme based on the constellations. For example, the Ace Operatives, or the Ace Ops of the Atlas military, who we see next in a similar pastel fashion to what we saw with Team Juniper and RWBY. So obviously the Ace Operatives are going to be main characters of this volume, since they're presented the same way as RWBY and Juniper. So we also see the 5 of them in their actual designs. And I honestly quite like a couple of their designs, and I hope that maybe they become mainstays, that maybe all of the Ace Operatives won't survive to the end of the Atlas arc, but some of them will. They'll join the overall party and head to Vacuo, however many volumes in the future that's going to be, but we'll see. At the very least, I hope they're not just cannon fodder as a lot of people are expecting. After we see that, though, it zooms out and we see that this picture of the Ace Operatives is on a holographic screen that someone seems to be looking at, and we see a very familiar moustache, that of Jacques Schnee. He has been behind this the whole time, controlling everything behind the scenes. No, in all reality, it's Watts. Watts is there, typing on a keyboard, smirking, seeming like he is controlling the Ace Operatives behind the scenes. Maybe the Ace Ops are some kind of traitor? Maybe they're actually working for Watts? That not only does the Queen, being Salem, have pawns, but so does Watts. That would be an interesting twist, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, but it seems like Watts is manipulating them to some degree, or at least that's what this is implying. We also see a shadow of Tyrion in front of it, so Watts is also being the guiding hand of Tyrion in this volume, which, of course, makes a lot of sense. Now, After that, we see Ironwood as he's pointing a gun directly at the viewer. And he's probably just shooting some Grim or something like that. But what's important about this image, he is in Mantle. Now, I don't think that's a place that Ironwood would willingly set foot in, as they're not very fond of him there. They were angry at his technology in episode 1, and we see, a bit later on in this opening that they're just not happy with him in general. And after he fires one shot, he looks a bit solemn, a bit sad, as a bluish-white mist kind of encircles him. And then it fades to the Schnee family. We first see Jacques and Whitley. Jacques looking a bit arrogant, and Whitley looking a bit sad. Those theories of Whitley being a victim of Jacques that was just never able to get away, like his siblings, Weiss and Winter were, might seem to make a lot of sense. In fact, does make a lot of sense, because Whitley has been under his father's thumb the entire time. We also see then Weiss and Winter, and I don't know about you guys, but the smirk that Winter's giving in that image looks kind of evil. I'm not sure what they're doing with Winter this volume, but we saw in episode 1 that she was, being the iron hand of the military, that's saying disobeying Atlas military personnel is a punishable offense. Yeah, I'm wondering what they're doing with Winter, and it seems like Weiss is concerned in this image as well, so we'll see where everything goes. But that's all they show of the Schnee family, so notably, there's a Schnee that everyone is anticipating that is missing from this image. Mama Schnee, Miss Willow Schnee, is not revealed in this opening, which kind of saddens me, but I'm hoping is revealed somewhere else down the line, and they just didn't put in the opening because they didn't want to spoil it. That's my hopes, at least. We then see a quick flash of Pietro and Maria, just to show that, hey, they still exist, because they are not in the opening in any other fashion other than just this one image, just to show they exist. I unfortunately do not think they are going to be very main characters in this overall volume, but they will still be there to some extent. We also see then RWBY standing in front of what looks like a bunch of buildings that are burning, seems like a battlefield, and the rest of her comrades are standing upon them, and they look like they're kind of ready for battle. So maybe foreshadowing that the battle with Salem is coming this volume, or at least the end of the volume. I'm hoping volume 9 will actually see how that plays out. But after that, we also see Penny, who, if you haven't watched episode 1, spoiler, she does come back in spectacular fashion in episode 1 of volume 7, and she has a new design, everything, all of her memories are intact, but this image where she's shown, I don't have good feelings about it. She's smiling very innocently, but if you are someone who's watched anime in the past, if you have ever seen those scenes where a character smiles and then the screen behind them fades to white, that's often when they're about to die and seem to have accepted their death. I don't like that. I don't like having that image, but that is what I feel when I look at that. And I don't want Penny, anything bad to happen to her at all, or at least for a couple volumes, because we need to explore her character more, and I just have a bad feeling. Please tell me I'm wrong. We then see actually a little fight scene where some characters are revealing not necessarily new abilities, but new upgrades to their weapons. We see Yang as she fires a shot with her prosthetic and shoots out what seems to be a fireball. So maybe now that she has a prosthetic arm, Pietro gives her some upgrades, and since it's a prosthetic and can actually withstand giant amounts of heat and flame, that she can now shoot fireballs. Because this thing's pretty damn powerful. One shot creates a shockwave that blasts through 3 Saber Grim, and just from passing over the ground, kind of cracks the ground and shatters it outwards. So yeah, Yang got strong. And we also see Team Juniper, or at least Ren, Nora, and Jean fighting some Saber Grim as well. And Jean got a little bit of a weapon upgrade too. His shield now has an expansion around it of hard light dust. I'm glad to see him getting some more tech upgrades into his weapons. Maybe his sword got some too. We will have to wait and see. We then also see the rest of the Ace Operatives fighting alongside them as they are fighting the Ice Petragigas. So, as previously stated, it seems like they are going to be fighting alongside Team Juniper and Team RWBY throughout this volume. They're going to become more protagonists. It then cuts to Miss Robin Hill, and thank you to those in the comments of my review of Volume 7, Episode 1 for pointing out that her name is Robin Hill. We could very faintly see it in the news bulletin board where it said, "Election incoming, the hero of Mantle," and there her name, Robin Hill, was in the background. I didn't catch it, so thank you to those who did. Probably based off of Robin Hood being the hero of Mantle, the underdog, steal from the rich, give to the poor, would fit very well in this situation. We see her staring at a hologram of Ironwood as, you know how I mentioned the people in Atlas are kind of angry at Ironwood? Yeah, this is where they show it, where they're just throwing rocks and raging at just this picture of Ironwood. So the fact that Ironwood was standing in Mantle in that shot seems very significant to me. If he was to go to Mantle, he would have to have some real good reason to do so. But as the people are throwing the rocks at the image of Ironwood, when it passes through the image, it kind of glitches out to an image of Schnee, which makes me think that this anger that the public is feeling towards Ironwood is misplaced, at least to some degree. That the oppression that they're feeling, everything to do with the mining industry, is creating all this anger in the public. And it's directed at Ironwood because his face is on those bulletin boards saying that Atlas will remain strong. I promise you, Atlas will remain safe. He's the one whose image is plastered everywhere. That's what people are directing their anger at, but really it's Schnee who is responsible for it all, and that's where the public should be directing their anger. So we'll see. The next image is really interesting. It cuts to Ironwood and Oscar fighting each other. But do you guys see what I do when you look at this image? They aren't fighting each other out of anger. Both of these boys are smiling. Oscar has a smile on his face, and Ironwood is smiling. Probably the first time he's smiled since Volume 3, since the fall of Beacon. Because I'm sure after the fall of Beacon, he, as we learned in Episode 1, he took it hard. His entire military was turned against him, and he probably felt very responsible for his friend, Ozpin, dying in the fall of Beacon. And seeing his friend return, being reunited with his friend. This applies to both Ozpin and Ironwood. Being reunited with each other has made them happy. So they're having a little sparring match like the good old days. And this also means that Ozpin's gonna return this volume. We're gonna hopefully have him give some explanation, maybe give some defense of himself, and hopefully tell the truth this time around and, you know, be a constant presence within the series again. Because I do miss Ozpin's character. That as much as he did lie, he had his reasons, and he didn't have a chance to defend himself after the Lost Fable. I really want some more expansion on that. After that, though, we get a little bit of a fight sequence in the tunnels where Blake is using her reforged Gamble Shroud to take out some Sentinels, and then we see Weiss skate along a couple of her glyphs, making an entire wave of her glyphs, to take out a couple Sentinels. It's really nice to see the glyphs being used in that fashion. Lastly, we see that Miss Robin Hill is being hunted by Tyrion. We see Robin's weapon, which is like a fan that appears on her arm. I don't know if there's a gun in the center of it. It would make sense with the way that RWBY series is kind of based off of, it's also a gun! But I really want to see how she fights, being the Robin Hood style character. She's gonna be able to fight, and then another character shows up to fight Tyrion alongside her, Crow, and these two fight in tandem very, very well, for at least from what little we see in the opening, which makes me think, as someone else also pointed out in the comments of Volume 1, Episode 1 review, they are probably old allies. Maybe this person is someone that Crow was looking for back in Volume 5, one of the huntsmen that he had presumed dead, killed off by Leonardo by being sent on a mission, etc. At the very least, it's someone that Crow knows. They are able to fight alongside each other very well and work off of each other's combat moves. I want to see this fight happen so badly, and I want all of these characters to be explored more. And I hope that Crow don't sacrifice himself to save anyone. I want Crow to live, but we'll see what ends up happening. And then we see a little action sequence of RWBY fighting in the street against some sabers, just to have some action, even a small little clip of each of the members of Team RWBY throughout the opening. And then we see a shadow of each of the members of Team RWBY doing some little action with a little bit of color splashed in there, which is kind of cool. The last image we see from the opening is an image of all of the relevant protagonist characters that are going to be in this volume. That's what it looks like, at least. We got Penny, we got Team RWBY, Team Juniper, we have the Ace Operatives, we have Winter, we have Ironwood, we have all of these characters. And just so you guys notice, there's Crow on the side there, and he got a new outfit this volume too. So that's really nice to see. Everyone's getting a little bit of a redesign. And then it cuts to the credits, where we see a series created by Mantle and a quick flash of the Relic of Creation, which of course is the centerpiece of this volume. I don't necessarily know if they are going to retrieve it this volume, but it seems like they might. At the very least, it's going to have to be retrieved in the overall Atlas arc, and we'll see how everything goes. Now, there is a couple notable things that are absent from this opening. The first and foremost of which, Cinder and Neo are nowhere to be seen. Similarly, Salem and her flying Beringles, nowhere to be seen. This tells me that the overall attack by Salem and the actual events of Cinder and Neo interacting with Team RWBY and everyone isn't going to take place this volume. It's actually going to take place in Volume 8, and that's where it's going to focus on those interactions and those plot points. I think, and I'm definitely open to being wrong about this, but I'm hoping actually that I'm not, because it would be nice to extend the Atlas arc, because I feel that it definitely deserves the time put into it, that this arc, that Volume 7, is going to be exploring the politics between Mantle and Atlas, the Schnee family, Ironwood reuniting with Ozpin, and the Atlas military and the politics that are going on with that. I'm hoping that that's the case. I might be reading into it a little bit much, but we'll see where that goes. Now, so far, I've only talked about the images that we've seen throughout the opening. I haven't actually gone over the song that's been singing throughout all of this, and there's a reason for that. I don't think it matches up really that well at all with any of the images that we've seen. So I'll leave the lyrics of the song, at least how I interpret them, down in the description below, and let me know what you guys think of them. The song deals or goes over a lot about love, saying trust love, believe in love, like multiple points throughout the song. So I'm thinking that maybe it has something to do with love. I wonder. But maybe that means that some of the ships that we've been expecting throughout the series are actually going to come to fruition or something along those lines. I don't exactly know what to expect from these lyrics, so let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Do my ideas about the events that we see in the actual opening make sense? What do you guys expect? Do you have any theories from this opening? Because I have a couple as well that might be put into videos later on. We'll see though. And yeah, let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you have not already. Again, thank you, and I'll see you guys in the next video.